Hello, and welcome to a summer solstice edition of the Filmocracy podcast. Once again, I'm your host, Paul John, CEO of Filmocracy, joined by John Fitzgerald, the venerable CEO of iGEMS and Film Festival Mastery. Good to see you, John.
Good to see you, Paul.
We've got some important summer topics to cover, right?
Yeah.
I think since the summer solstice marks the official start of the summer, we should start with what's coming out this summer. I mean, we've seen like some of the box office summer blockbusters like Top Gun come out. We've seen Jurassic World, Dominion come out, but those are hit or miss. Let's talk about the indies. What's going on the indies?
Yeah, I think it's always fun to talk about the indies because frankly, this is the world we live in, right, Paul? It's great to have seen some of these indies that you've talked about a few times. Everything Everywhere All at Once, Paul, is finally streaming, so that's kind of a cool thing. But yeah, I know that one of the movies that's coming out fairly soon, I think it's still in theaters, is the new Cronenberg title.
Which film was
played in Cannes. I'm trying to remember something Crimes
of the Future.
Sorry. There you go. Sorry, I'm dealing with a little jet lag here. I was at Tribeca over the weekend. I just got back, so I'm a little...
Yeah. How was the reception of this movie in Cannes?
Well, as has become the story with Cronenberg, very polarizing, right? Critics loved it. Some hated it. I think it's going to polarize fans as usual. Terrific cast. And if I'm not mistaken, it won one of the prizes there. It wasn't the Palme d'Or. And I don't think it was the Grand Jury Prize, but maybe he got an award. There was an award for the movie.
Is this the film where they're like modifying their bodies?
Yeah.
And like
Kristen Stewart, I think,
cutting
right?
open. Oh my God. This even the trailer was hard to watch. It's just gruesome.
Yeah. It's definitely going to be a challenge, but it's something that for people that know David Cronenberg's work, it's fun. And I have kind of a funny quick story about Cronenberg. So when I majored in film in Santa Barbara like 1,000 years ago, I took a course on film, on the introduction of film. I can't remember which exact course it was, but one of the assignments was to do a videotape of something. And I happened to know a senior executive at the time at Fox who was able to get me on the phone with Cronenberg, who was a Canadian and based in Canada at the time. And it was when The Fly had just come out. And so I pretended, I had a buddy of mine and I would do the Siskel and Ebert thing, and we sat in chairs and we're like, take a look at this, take a look at this. It was the goofiest, dumbest thing you've ever seen. But yeah, I've always been a fan of Cronenberg just because he pushes the envelope, right? And actors like working with him, and that always says something.
I mean, I feel like Cronenberg is kind of what you need to be in this day and age. Like, it has to be a little bit sensational or like have an extreme point of view about something, because if you're just regular old drama here, you probably belong more on a streaming platform than you do in theaters, because what's going to get butts in seats?
Yeah.
I just watched The Summer I Turned Pretty on Amazon. They're doing a huge promotion, tons of billboards, no cast, like youngsters, nobody you've ever recognized. And it was all right.
I don't think you're the target demo, Paul, just saying.
I know, but the billboards worked, John, so I watched it. But you're completely right. No. I'm not the target demo. But for theater movies, you need to have that extra oomph, right? Because you're competing with the big boys. But I think you read an interesting article about counterprogramming.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. We think of summer summer box office as, the big blockbusters. And, you think of Jaws and Star Wars and, of course, Marvel has something new every summer. But I think what's interesting to me is that it's a time when programmers and bookers can try and what they call counter program. So it's like, some people are going to want to go see the latest Pixar movie and some are going to want to go see the latest Marvel movie. But then there's other movies that could come out. There's a little animated film called Marcel the Shell.
Oh my God.
Have you heard about that?
Yes, I have. It looks amazing.
It is amazing. It's a festival movie. It's an indie, but it's animated. But it's one of those things that I think is going to be really interesting for people when you think of this counter programming thing. And over the years, a lot of independent films have come out in the summer and done really, really well. I'm going to give you a few. Was it Before Sunrise? I think was and Linklaters, and the kids are all right. I think came out during the summer. Right, mm-hmm. This was a kind of a little indie that came out and nobody knew anything about it, and it did really, really well at the box office. I think it did
21 million. Yeah, 21 million.
Yeah. So there's a bunch of these movies that over the last 20 years or so have kind of snuck in the summer and exceeded expectations. And I think for us, I mean, sure, Paul, you and I are going to go see a few of these, but just to kind of shift back to the streaming side, I think it's also going to be interesting to me to see how many people since the pandemic, we've seen the spike in streaming platforms and people become more comfortable staying at home. So it's like, if it's not going to be the big event picture or the latest, Pixar thing, are cinephiles gonna come to the theaters? I think that's the big question.
Yeah. Well, I think it also boils down to choice. Like, if I look at my local AMC's programming, I'm going to list it for you right now. They have Lightyear for kids, Jurassic World, summer blockbuster-ish movie, Top Gun Maverick, also summer blockbuster-ish movie, Doctor Strange, also summer blockbuster-ish movie. So those three movies, Jurassic World, Top Gun, Doctor Strange, are all kind of gunning for the same audience, right?
Yep.
The summer hit audience. And then there's Everything Everywhere All at Once, and that's it. 5 different movies at this theater. It's absurd. There's no other option. And then if I look at a different AMC, it's the same movies, but there's 2 more. There's the early access screening of Elvis, which I think has a lot of buzz flowing around.
Yeah, I can't wait. I have to say, I can't wait to see that. That was another Cannes title.
Yeah, and then there's also this comedy called Brian and Charles, which I hadn't heard of until like a few weeks ago. But that's it. Those are your options. So if you're not in the mood for the summer blockbuster, Brian and Charles and Elvis are kind of your only other option. And that's the opportunity, right? That's, do I want to sit through explosion CGI, or is there something else for me? And if there's not, then I'll stay home.
Right. Or you go to Laemmle, right? Mm-hmm. That's another chain you could pull up, see what's playing at Laemmle's theater. While you're doing that, I'll read off, just because I thought it was kind of fun. Here's a list of 10 indies we love about epic vacations and summer shenanigans. This came out a few years ago in Film Independent. See how many of these you've seen. Do the Right Thing, of course, Spike Lee. Shag, Phoebe Cates, right? Dazed and Confused. We all love that one. Eve's Bayou, really strong indie. Let's see what else we got here. Wet Hot American Summer 2001, right? Paul Rudd, Janine Garofalo. My Summer of Love, really strong film that hardly anybody saw. Came out in 2004. The Whackness. So that's just a few titles that, again, summer thing. So one of the other things you want to give us, just to contrast your AMC, you want to give us a few titles that are playing at Laemmle?
Sure. We're looking at the Laemmle in Santa Monica. They've got 3 films. The Phantom of the Open. They've got Official Competition and Lost Illusions. I bet 95% of people don't know what these movies are. I don't know what these movies are. But all of them extremely well reviewed. Lost
Yeah.
Illusions is a drama romance, 7.4 IMDb, 90% Rotten Tomatoes. We've got Official Competition, 87% on Fandango, 94% on Rotten Tomatoes. Like, these are good films that are making decent money, and it's like almost a complete separation now, right? Like,
Yep.
if you're an independent film, you go for the independent chains, and getting into the AMC or getting into Regal is just too difficult. They'd rather have another Lightyear screening.
Exactly. They throw it on 2 or 3 screens. Well, I thought it was interesting that the one movie, the first one you mentioned, is about golf, right?
Yeah,
About a
yeah.
guy who decides to play in the British Open, I think, and it's a total fluke, but it's supposed to be hilarious. And like you said, it got rave reviews, and I'm a huge fan of that. And of course, the U.S. Open was just this last weekend, so I will give them my $15 or whatever it costs these days at Lemley. I had Greg on last week. He's a terrific guy and a just superstar in support of independent films. Let's shift gears because I know we're on a tight timeline today, Paul. Tell us what you think about the idea of summer film festivals. I have some festivals I can run down the list, but I know Filmocracy is doing film festivals over the summer. Want to share some of that?
Yeah, generally the summers are a bit lighter for film festivals, but we have some interesting ones that we like. One is called the Film and Folklore Festival that has a very interesting perspective and lineup of films. There's also the I Will Tell Film Festival that's a lot about, being a conscientious objector type of person. And we also have the Ouchie Film Awards coming up in July as well. So a lot of very interesting kind of niche film festivals that are not so concerned about being up for awards in the fall. And I think that's important because if we're honest, most films are not going to win an Oscar. So might as well pick a good time for movies.
That's right. That's right. Unless it's Coda. All right. So let me just run down a list of other festivals taking place over the course of summer, because I find it interesting, and we'll certainly mention the fact that Filmocracy Fest was moved to the summer, so we'll talk about that before we wrap things up today. But the biggest festival in Los Angeles, LGBTQ wise, Outfest, that's July 14th to the 24th. That's always a huge hit.
Great festival, yeah.
Great festival. Kind of a little festival, Pasadena International Film Festival, but they've shown some decent movies over the years. And then the Catalina Film Festival, I worked with this guy a while back. They put on a good show, September 21st to the 25th. That's kind of rolling into the fall. And of course, the end of the summer season for film festivals always culminates with the Telluride Film Festival over Labor Day weekend. And that's a fun one that cinephiles love, industry loves. If you can afford it, make a trip to Colorado to check that out. It's an amazing time, and it's kind of fun because they don't announce their slate until opening day. So you just got to trust the programmers, which is kind of fun. Real quick, Paul, I want to just share something about a festival that just finished. So Dances with Films, they just celebrated their 25th year this year, and they take place at the Mann's Chinese, and they're at the multiplex, where the I think it's 5 or 6 screens upstairs. They're not the big house down below, but I actually went and visited. Some of my clients were there, and they had a great turnout. And one of our films that ended up winning the awards, called America's Family, and they sold out their opening night. Yeah, sold it out, and a little film with no big name cast by any sense of the word, and they ended up winning the grand jury prize and an audience award. So kudos to them, and kudos to Dances with Films for sticking it out for 25 years and still doing really well.
Amazing. I mean, obviously they've done a lot of hard work, but also they just have a great name. It's such a good name for a festival.
It's really good, and they really pride themselves on being independent. They do have some decent sponsors, so they do have to kind of cross the threshold there. But they don't show big studio movies. I mean, even if some of the mini majors are offering them, bigger titles, they're not taking them. They really want to support the indies, and I cheer them on for that. Leslie and I were tight when I was doing Slam Dance, and I just love that she and Michael have stuck it out. So I know you got to go soon. What were the other things that we wanted to cover? We're going to talk about festivals. We're going to talk about counter-programming.
Yeah, I think we should talk about Filmocracy Fest. But before we do that, I would like to talk about our newest feature on film, which is Filmdole. And Filmdole is a Wordle variant. So you're basically, and there like something like this exists already called Framed, in which you're guessing the movie based on one scene, and then if you can't get it, they give you another picture. But we did it a little bit differently. We got, the 1,000 top movies of all time, got all their trailers, and now you're guessing the film based on a few seconds of the trailer. If you can't get it, we'll add some more seconds, and if you can't get that, we'll add 3 more seconds. So it's basically testing your knowledge of really famous and well-received films over the years, and it's really fun. It's free to use. It's at Filmdole, filmdle.filmocracy.com. It's free to play. Definitely check it out. But let's get back to Filmocracy Fest, which is 3 weeks away now, and exciting that it's in the summer, because I think summer is just more fun. And we also have some great films. I think you've already ironed out which films you're going to have, right? You've picked out the programming.
I have, yeah. We've got a pretty strong lineup. It's definitely become kind of more of a boutique festival. We're kind of shrinking the number of titles this year. We want to make sure if anybody comes to the festival, there's only one movie playing. We're going to have 4 docs, 4 narratives. The slate's going to be announced, I think, tomorrow or the next day. But we also, Paul, you and I, we really want to celebrate kind of emerging voices. That's really what we're all about. So some of these films have played other festivals, some have won awards, but they haven't played a screen in LA. And we thought it was a great opportunity for us to put them on the big screen. And we're also going to be, showing most of our titles in the Filmocracy virtual cinema as well. But we're going to kick things off with a terrific indie that's played a few other festivals, Death of a Ladies' Man. This one does have a recognizable name or two, Gabriel Byrne, but it's such a well-made film. It's very independent in spirit, and we just thought it would be a fun thing to kick off the festival with. So that'll play on Thursday night at the Lumiere Music Hall is our host venue again this year, former Laemmle Theater. But yeah, we're big fans of that theater. And Peter, Luis, they do a great job. And they can go to filmocracyfest.com to get more information. Tickets go on sale later this week. And maybe if you wouldn't mind, just take a moment, Paul, and share again, because we do really want to celebrate emerging talent with this festival. But a few of the other things that we really try and do connect back to these 4 pillars, right? Mentorship, networking, and of course I'm going to blank on the last one now because of my jet lag. There's one more, experience, right? So we got experience is a given. We're going to create unique experiences for our attendees, but the networking thing and the mentorship thing is really big. And I thought that what you're doing with the Filmocracy Film Market was worth reminding people of again, because that kind of covers all of the bases.
Yeah, as we were streamlining the programming for this festival, we definitely wanted to keep the film market in play because it was just such a great experience. We did it last time in April, and we're basically it's almost like a combination of Shark Tank / a pitching event, but everybody gets an opportunity to pitch to multiple people. And so you have 4 minutes, filmmakers sign up, they can just click on the executives they want to talk to, and give them that face-to-face time that you really don't get anywhere else. You go to European Film Market, or you go to Cannes, or you go to AFM, nobody's going to meet with you unless you have a meeting set. And to get a meeting set, you need to have representation, and it's a whole thing. But here, we're just smashing you together. We want you to talk to them. We want you to build a relationship with them. And what helps with that is just meeting face to face, like you and I are doing right now, John. So the Filmocracy Film Market is part of Filmocracy Fest. You can buy tickets for that individually. They're $75. On average, people will meet 5 or 6 executives over the 2-hour event, which will take place on the 15th. Last time we had about 15 executives participate. This next time we anticipate there will be around 30.
Wow.
And so we're talking about like, sales agents and talent agents and production companies. So whatever stage, distribution companies, whatever stage your project is in, from script to completed film, like there's an executive for you to talk to.
Yeah, and just to bring it back to the networking aspect of it, for the filmmakers or screenwriters, producers, any of the participants in the market that are based in LA, we will be having a reception the evening of the 14th after the opening night movie, so people can come and join us and meet us, and we're going to buy cocktails for all of our participants and festival filmmakers. So it's a great time to bring everybody together. Certainly hasn't happened enough in the last couple of years. So we're going to do our best to make that happen. I think that's all I got today, Paul.
That's all we got. The summer is short and sweet, but we're just kicking it off now. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us for another edition of the Filmocracy podcast. Definitely go sign up and buy your tickets for Filmocracy Fest, and we'd love to see you in person.